Welcome to Trail Times, episode 3 with Big Bear Events. My name's Paul, and today we are going to talk a little bit about the Rhino Challenge. We're going to talk a little bit about, I guess, what I've been up to and our upcoming events. So I'm recording this on Thursday, the 6th. We had our event, the Rhino Challenge, at Ryton Pools Country Park. That was on Tuesday the 4th. It went great. It was really good. Lots of interesting stories from people, and generally a good time. So what I have done is, again, I've done some recording from the venue. If you're watching this, and again, I keep saying this, so I know it's annoying when you're listening and somebody keeps referring to watching, but I'm going to explain it anyway. If you are watching this, you'll notice that we've gone widescreen rather than portrait. So it appears that people watch YouTube on TVs. Didn't realise that. I never watch it on my phone, and then very rarely actually watch it, mainly just listen to it and wander about. So if you're watching it on a TV and then it's in portrait mode, it looks truly awful. So I'd planned on going to widescreen, which is why this bit's in widescreen. However, I forgot that I'd planned on doing that when I was recording people during the day. So all of that is in portrait. So you're going to be flipping about a little bit, but you'll get over it. So we've got a couple of minutes of me waffling, but then also we're going to hear from Kiefer, Sophie and Debbie as well. They were all running and moving around on our course on Tuesday. All had good days. Again, it was a little bit windy, and I still haven't worked out how to properly work my microphones. So at least this time they're not holding a microphone and it's not working. However, I've tried to make it so that the wind isn't too bad, but it does sort of mess with the sound a little bit. It shouldn't be too bad to listen to. If it sounds really, really bad, just skip forward 30 seconds and it'll be fine. It'll get back to a normal sound quality, hopefully. So apologies for that. I'm going to work out how to actually work my microphones that I bought. I thought they were working, but they don't seem to actually do anything. So I'll sort that out, hopefully in time for the Badger Challenge that's coming up in a few weeks' time. So without further ado, you're going to listen to me talking some rubbish, and then we'll hear from some of our runners as well. So this is our little recordings from the Rhino Challenge here at Ryton Pools Country Park. So as much as all the cars that you can see if you're watching this on YouTube, as much as all the cars that you can see don't make it look particularly scenic, it is incredibly useful, because as you then run into each lap, if you want to keep some stuff in your boot, the boot is literally on the course, so it's quite handy. And then obviously the rest of the course isn't like a car park. The rest of the course is very pretty. We've got the beautiful Farmers Fair Cafe, which is new this year. Well, I think they started maybe last summer, which is excellent. Very nice in there. That's our aid station, so I'll go do a little bit of a closer one and explain what the aid station is all about. But slightly greyish skies. I think we're probably going to get some rain later on in the day, which is always a bit of a pain because it means I just have to put away wet kit. But a glorious day. I think, I haven't got the exact number, but I think we've got about 90-ish people out there, which is great. This is where it all began, obviously. Not obviously, I suppose, but this is where it all began 8 years ago, where we had two little rubbish gazebos that in this amount of wind, which is probably what we had the first year, literally buckled, couldn't get them down, had to throw them straight in the bin because all the metal had bent and whatever. You learn those lessons. So now we've got 4 good quality gazebos. The one looks a little bit grey, again, if you're watching. I think that's probably one of the originals. So that's done 8 years, 100 plus events, and they last, but it's lovely. But it's really nice here. Park people are great. The venue's really nice. It's very pretty out on the course. It just works. And the surface, because the surface is pretty much sort of crushed stone all the way around, it means if you're training for London or your spring marathon, then you can get out on the trails, so you're not on the tarmac, but you haven't got to put, you know, big mud huggers on or anything silly like that, and you can still run towards a marathon pace. You don't really have to adjust it here like you would do if you were going off-road or going over the fields and whatnot. So hopefully that wind isn't too disruptive, but it's definitely picking up a little bit here. But hopefully I'll have some more little chats with some people that you'll hear on this podcast. Right, so how did you find today at the Rhino Challenge?
Oh, I loved it, absolutely loved it. Yeah, I love doing it because I love the fact that the dog can do it with me. And she absolutely loves it. She gets very excited at the start, and then it's just nice to be able to do as little or as much as you'd like. And it's all easy, well signposted and very well supported. So yeah, thank you for the support.
How do you find it out on the course with the dog? Like, because with this course, there's a bit of out and back.
Yeah.
So, like, you're not all bumping into each other and stuff like that, or do you get on okay?
No, not bumping into each other at all, really. No, I mean she's pretty good. She knows this side, that, you know, right and left, so I can get her to move out of the way for people.
Yeah.
She's very good like that. And, no, we didn't have any problems bumping into anybody. No, it was pretty smooth, really. Well, very smooth.
Excellent. Yeah. Cool. Thank you very much. So again, if you're watching, you can have a little look at the aid station and what we have. So, at the moment, this changes all the time. We've got some crisps out, Marmite sandwich, cheese sandwich, we've got Twiglets, Bombay mix, some wormy type things, I don't know what they are, vegan sweets, cola bottles, Mars bars, Jaffa cakes, chocolate cake, bit of banana, Jaffa cakes, cheese biscuits, scones, protein rebel gels, drinks, everything you could ever want. And then pretty much throughout the event that then gets changed up, so we'll always have something savoury, something sweet, something vegan, something gluten-free, but it's not the same every lap, because if we make a sandwich at 9 a.m, that sandwich is pretty rank at 3 a.m, so we try to keep it as fresh as we can, and we sort of put a bit of variety in, because it is nice to have something different on each lap. We do then sometimes have the case that somebody was looking forward to their jam sandwich and then there aren't any left. That does happen, I suppose. That is the flip side of that. But I like to think that the variety outweighs the cost if you were planning on having something different. But you know, I guess that's up to you to decide. Right, so it's your first time with us at Big Bear Events. So how are you finding it today? So are you enjoying it? Have you done events like this before?
I've never done an event like this before, no. Not where you rest after, not with laps and you rest, no.
So are you enjoying the sort of like the change, the difference?
It's fun, it's more chill, yeah. You don't have to keep going and you can just rest and, you know, when you're done, when you feel like you want to finish, you just finish. It's good.
Awesome. Cool, thank you. Well done, you've just finished. So how did you get on today?
Yeah, it was really good until it started raining and the last lap was absolutely miserable. But apart from that, it was really good.
So obviously you're holding up a sign that says, I just finished my first marathon. So how far had you been before today?
I'd done half distance. So I had 3 goals for this event. My first was to run a half. My second was to move for more than 4 hours. And my ultimate goal was to run a marathon. So I'm very pleased with myself.
Excellent. And yeah, excellent. Well done. So, as you just heard, lots of people having lots of fun. Incredibly interesting and insightful listening to Sophie. Again, if you're listening rather than watching, Sophie's standing there with a board that says, I ran my first marathon, hence me mentioning it. I don't think I actually say what's on the board. So, just sort of to let you know what is there. And we have loads of those boards at the finish line with all of my witty banter on them, and some that just sort of say, I ran a marathon, I ran my first ultra, I ran a long way, things like that. Or I was powered by Jaffa cakes, things that are just nice for when you're taking a photo at the end rather than just standing, holding a medal, just something to make it a little bit different. So yeah, Sophie ran her first marathon. She'd never run over a half, so that's a real achievement, and it's great. And she's not the only person that comes along doing that. To highlight that point, Alex, who was there, who came first female, she had never run over a half marathon before, and she did, let me just get the exact number, she did 36 miles. So she's gone from doing a half marathon, I think. So I spoke to her a little bit towards the end, and she said that she had gone, I think she'd gone over a half marathon maybe in training in preparation for this, but I don't think she'd gone over marathon distance. She was running, she just looked as though she'd done this loads of times. So I mean, I sort of spoke to her at the end. I tried to speak to most people, or as many people as I can, especially when it's getting less busy. And I just assumed that she was sort of a bit of a seasoned runner, maybe training for something a bit longer, because she looked really in control the whole way around. Every time she came into the aid station, she looked like she could sort of keep going all day, and it wasn't big for her. But I think, if you go from having done the longest you've done in an event being 13.2 miles to suddenly then doing pretty much 3 times as far, that's a pretty incredible achievement, which was brilliant. It's great to see, and there's so many stories of people like that. The format, I'll as much as I don't want this podcast to be me trying to sell stuff the whole time, that's not the idea. It's meant to bring you some of the stories of the events, but the event format, the 6-hour format, just lends itself to having a go at doing something that is going to push you a little bit. I don't know Alex. This is the first time she'd come to one of the events. I don't know if she's the sort of person that would have just signed up for a 50k or a 40-mile event or something like that, but she didn't need to worry about that. She could sign up for 6 hours. She was having a good day, clearly, and she kept going, and it was brilliant. And it just means that people can do that. The same with Sophie as well. So yes, maybe she would have signed up to do Manchester Marathon or Brighton or something like that, but then you've got the fear, and like she said, she had 3 goals, and one of them was just to sort of stay on her feet for over 4 hours. Well, that's brilliant, and she did that, and she got to her sort of her A goal, I guess, of doing that marathon. But if she'd had the pressure of like stick or twist, I guess, or however you want, boom or bust, maybe she wouldn't have done it. Maybe it would have been a different day for her. It wouldn't have been as enjoyable, even if she got the same result. Whereas because of that 6-hour format, it means that she could do 3 laps. It's all going wrong, but she's not failed. She just hasn't quite hit the target that she wanted, but she's not got to wait for a minibus to come and pick her up and take her home with all the other failures. That's how it feels, just to be clear. That's not my take, but that's how it feels. If you're getting picked up, that's not the nicest thing. Whereas with the 6-hour format, with a lapped event, you can have a bad day, but it's nowhere near as sort of the wrong word, but it's nowhere near as humiliating as sort of only getting to 15 miles on a marathon. So having attempted some long things in DNF events, I know that when you DNF them, it's not much fun. It's not the greatest feeling in the world. Whereas I've done events, so when I've done a 24-hour event, a lapped event, Endured 24, Equinox. The fact they both begin with E is just difficult. Anyway, Equinox, when I did that, I think I'd got plans of trying to get towards 100 miles, and then that was never going to happen. It rained lots, and other excuses that I can bring out. But instead, I had a sleep. I enjoyed the day. There were people there, and I did 70 miles or something, 72 miles, I think. And that was good. And it's the same idea, right? It's the same idea with these 6-hour events, is that you can come out, you can do what you want, and it's completely fine. And there's just no pressure. It makes no difference to me if you do, let me get the exact details. So the person that was leading from the front was Oliver, who has got our course record at Daventry Country Park. I think he's done something like 48 miles there, 46 miles there. So it's a good amount of time. He was bombing around, and he did a half marathon in 1 hour 40. I think his first 2 laps were sort of sub 25Ks, I think, something like that. He was really flying at the beginning, but he hadn't really done any training and he just wanted to come in and have some fun. So he's bombing around doing that, but it doesn't impact anybody else. Everybody else can do what they want to do, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't detract from what you're doing. It doesn't detract from what he's doing, and we can all be on the same course with each other. So, you know, this will be a bit repetitive, but I enjoy the format. I think it works really well, and I love hearing the stories of, oh, I'd only ever done this, or, oh, I hadn't really thought I was going to do this today. But if you're there, might as well carry on running. And it works brilliantly. So if you're on the fence at all and somehow you've stumbled across this podcast, then don't be. Try them. Try the 6-hour format. I like to think that we at Big Bear Events put on the best style of it, but try a 6-hour lapped event somewhere. And it just allows you to do what you want to do when you want to do it without the pressure. And yeah, I absolutely love it. So I've got 2 other clips as well. So I've got 2 other clips. So it was Linny's birthday. So she's a Hinckley runner, and she brought some of her friends along who hadn't been to our events, which Keith was one of them, I think, that we spoke to, that you saw earlier, or heard from earlier. And yeah, they did a little cake at the end. So I managed to catch that on video. So I'll play that a little bit now.
Epic fail, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Linny. Happy birthday to you.
So it's not actually that uncommon for somebody to be there on their birthday. So I think people quite like the idea of going for a run on their birthday. Linny definitely did, because I spoke to her about that. And if your birthday is on a Tuesday in February, then you're like, oh, brilliant, that event's on my birthday, I'm going to run it. So we've had quite a few people where it's been their birthdays. I think the stat is something like, if there's 49 people in a room, there's an over 50% chance that there'll be 2 people with the same birthday in that room. It's something like that. So when we have 100 runners, then it's very, very likely that there's somebody whose birthday it is. I remember the first time somebody said to me, oh, it was at Ryton Pools actually, can you sort of say happy birthday because it's someone's birthday? I'll be honest, it was years ago, I can't remember who it was. And happy birthday, and we sang happy birthday, and then somebody else shouts out, oh, it's my birthday as well. Oh my God, what have I done here? So the reason that I don't tend to acknowledge those people's birthday isn't because I'm a miserable old man, although that is true as well, but it's because if I do it for one person, it ends up being more than one person, and then we do it every event, and it's odd. I mean, it's a nice thing to do, and I love it when people come and they celebrate sort of big goals, whether it's their birthday, whether it's their 100th marathon, whether it's all of that stuff. Like it's really nice, and it genuinely adds to the day for everybody else as well, because everybody can sort of join in your happiness as well. So it's lovely. And then I'm just going to show another video as well. So this is Jane. It's very, very short, but this is the full video. So watch this video. So how have you got on today?
Brilliant, thank you.
Right, so that was me attempting to ask Jane essentially how she got on. And the saying 3 words and then giggling happened quite a lot at Daventry. I think Phil had to do a couple of takes until I could get anything out of him. And I guess that's just the problem with somebody sticking a phone in your face and then saying, what happened, after you've just been running for a few hours. So the plan now is to sort of change the format a little bit. And this is the thoughts, I guess, of somebody I was speaking to yesterday. So I recorded a different podcast yesterday. So we have, I have a friend that does quite a lot of running. He used to have a marketing agency. I think that's how you'd phrase it. And so he knows marketing stuff, and he has podcasts that I listen to and I think are really good. They tend to be marketing based. So I've sort of discovered that I quite enjoy the marketing side of these things, mainly because I need to for the business, because there's no point in having what I think something is really good if nobody knows about it. So you've got to market these things. And his podcast called In the Comments is James Cart, I think is how you say it. And In the Comments is the podcast, and it's really good. Essentially, the gist of the podcast is they get somebody that does marketing, whether it's a small business owner or what they're trying to find is people that actually do like social media for bigger companies. And then they get those people in, and the idea is that you go through all of your social media stuff, all of your marketing, what you're doing, and he's a nice guy, but he essentially rips it to shreds and says what you should try and do better. And his idea was walking around, talking to people as they're going. So obviously with our events, a lot of people are walking, and what I can effectively do is have a phone on a selfie stick and walk with them for 30 seconds and ask them questions. So that format will probably work a lot better, because I spoke with Jane for whatever that was, like a 5-second clip. And then we decided, never mind, we won't bother. And I had the best conversation with her for about 5 minutes about how much she'd enjoyed it, how she really liked the no pressure element, and everything that would have been absolute gold for this. But stick a camera in somebody's face and say, talk, and they don't like it. Whereas if I can walk along with them, I think that will work better. So for the Badger Challenge, the plan is to make that slight format change. It's only a slight change, and I'm sure you've really not paid that much attention, but slight format change if you are watching it, that we're going to walk along and hopefully speak to people with microphones that actually work. That is the plan. So, Rhino Challenge, brilliant. Very, very likely that we will be back at Ryton Pools Country Park for the first week of February in 2026. I just need to speak to the park to sort that out. If it's not the first week of February, it'll be very close. It's where we traditionally start our year, even if we have events before. It just feels like the start of the year. It's what we did 8 years ago. So it'd be good to get to at least 10. And it was really nice as well. So I think we had, I might, please, if someone can correct me if they are listening and I got it wrong, but I think we had 3 people with us who were there at the first one 8 years ago. So Paul Stead, Derek and Brian. Brian's been at pretty much all of them since as well, which is excellent. I think he might be up to about 60 events with us now, which is just great. It's really nice to have people coming back year after year. I've got a feeling Derek might have been to every year there, and Brian. I'm not so sure about Paul. I don't know. I don't have that knowledge on top of my head. But it's just lovely, people coming back, and it sets the tone, and it's spot on. I love it. So, my training. I have been out a little bit, so I'm not going to be so self-indulgent to go through every single thing I've done on Strava. But I did say, I think the last time I mentioned it was on the first episode, and I said I was going to go out and do 18 miles or something, and I did 16. And then I think last week I went out and did 20 miles. And it's quite, I mean, my training's not good particularly or exciting, but I planned on going out early. So I planned on waking up at 5 and then going out and getting 20 miles done. Our kids sleep really well generally, but that night, one of them woke me up, and then I had a bad dream or something. And then I went downstairs and then came back up. And then 20 minutes later, he then woke me up again to say he didn't hear me come upstairs. So I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to I don't sleep particularly well, so I'm not going to get back to sleep. And I think it was something like 10 past 4. I thought I might as well just get up, because I've got to get up in an hour anyway. And so got up at 4. I think I was running by just after 4:30, and then did 20 miles to then get back in time before they went to school. So I was quite smug about that. And so I think I named the Strava Beating the 5 a.m. Club or something like that. And I had somebody, Anna sent me a screenshot from Spotted Rugby of somebody sort of saying, oh, it's great to see that lad out before 5 a.m. running, you know, what a trooper or something. It might not have been me, but I think it probably was, because not many people out at that time running. So just what a hero I am. But it did make me laugh, and my wife's been taking the piss out of me about it the whole time. And then since then, little bits here and there. So again, I've already mentioned it, but in not very long, 2 weeks, oh my God, 2 weeks, I'm doing Trans Gran Canaria Marathon, which is an amazing event. So I did it 2 years ago, absolutely loved it, really just incredible. I'm not particularly well-travelled person, so I've never been to the middle of the islands in a volcano in the middle of the Atlantic, and just running through that sort of that landscape was just incredible, absolutely incredible. I really enjoyed it, and yeah, really enjoyed it. And now, since last year, Trans Gran Canaria is part of the World Trail Majors. I think I've got that right. And the marathon is now part of their short series, and the South Downs Way 50k by Centurion is part of their short series, and I'm race directing that for its first year this year as well. So it feels like I'm going out there for work purposes. Not sure if I can claim back a family holiday from HMRC, but we'll see. I'm not doing that, just to be clear. But it does feel like it's sort of a little bit different. So James is going out there from Centurion. I know a few other people going out from the UK that I've seen as well. And I think this whole World Trail Majors thing sort of just elevates the profile of getting international athletes in. It's just an incredible event, and it's really nice when it's at the end of half term, because then I can get a week's holiday it's just a beautiful place out there. And coincidentally, I think it was a coincidence anyway, I can't remember the exact way round, but we stay where it finishes. It's like a 5-minute walk from the finish line. Beautiful place, Mas below Mas, beautiful, lovely. So that's really good. So I might be really cheesy and do some recording while I'm out there doing the event, just so I can sort of log a little bit what I've done. I'm sure nobody cares, but seeing me sort of slowly dying a death with really lovely scenery might be quite funny. So I might add that in rather than trying to explain what it looks like. I'll just do a few short little videos. But I'm looking forward to that. I love it. I just want to get around. I really don't care if I'm faster or slower than last time. I can't be much slower, because when I finished last time, it was getting dark and head torches weren't part of mandatory kit. So I'd packed a head torch because I looked at it and thought, I might potentially get dark before I finish. And then the start was delayed by half an hour because the coaches were delayed getting to the start. And so that then bumped it all back. I was like, yeah, it's definitely going to be dark when I finish. And I finished with a head torch on, and I was not last. I wasn't far off, but I was not last. There were people an hour plus behind me who would have been essentially running down an old riverbed with great big boulders to run across that was sort of ankle breaker city in the dark, potentially with no head torch. So it's a little lesson that the mandatory kit is not the kit that you need necessarily. You've got to use a little bit of intelligence to look at it and think, actually, it might be dark, I'm going to pack a head torch. I'd suggest, 70% of the people that finish in daytime, and if it had started on time, it wouldn't have been an issue for anyone really. So these are just the things you learn. So I'll definitely be packing a head torch. I think I have to go out there with full winter kit as well, because the start, when I did it a few years ago, was like 11 degrees and raining. And then the finish line, we were on a beach holiday and it doesn't get below 25 degrees. So you need that winter kit just for the start line, which is crazy. But I loved it, massive fan. And hopefully I'll be saying the same when I finish this time, because I love it. So we'll try and get out there again when it's in half term. So it's a really good day out. And on that, with the South Downs Way 50, so tomorrow I'm out with the Centurion guys out on the course, just having a look to make sure that we've got our head around all of it. I guess I've not necessarily alluded to, but I as an individual rather than as Big Bear, do race directing with Centurion. They're the best out there at what they do at the ultras. Very much set the groundwork for the rest of us to follow. Even before I started working with them, I'd always describe them as like the gold standard of ultra running. They were the first people that I did events with as a runner, first ultras that I did, and I just assumed they would all be like that. And then you turn up to a pub car park with 7 people, and the guy in the 4x4 follows you along the course every now and then, maybe having not had permission to stop in the pub car parks and that sort of thing. And then you realise that's not how all events are, and that Centurion's quite a special thing. So to work with them is, I feel very lucky to do that, and I love it. So I'll be out on the course, mooching about, having a look, working out where the aid station's going to go, and making sure that it all goes smoothly. Originally, when it was set up, that event, we thought, we'll do 1 year, get it all bedded in, and then try and grow it a little bit years afterwards. But now it's the World Trail Majors event in its first year. It's going to be quite full on. So that's some of the stuff that I sort of get up to when I'm not solely doing Big Bear stuff. But the time just disappears very, very quickly. So just very busy doing lots of little bits. Another sort of, I don't know, little thing that I've sort of started doing as well, or that I did this morning. So I don't have any here to show if you're watching, but when you finish our events, I like to give out the little pin badges to signify how far you've gone. So if you've done a marathon, you get a marathon badge, ultra badge, half badge. If it's your first time, you get a badge. If it's the furthest you've ever gone, you get a badge. So and that's fine. It works brilliantly. People like it, and it's lovely and nice. But then the problem we have is when somebody does, say, 18 miles or 20 miles, they've done a half marathon, but they've not done a half marathon. They've done 20 miles, not a half marathon. So I've created a little badge that it will be with me before the next event, I think, that says heavy half. So that's not my terminology. I don't know if I think that's just what everybody calls them. But that is when you do more than a half marathon, but not a marathon. So then you get your heavy half badge. So yeah, so I've done that. So it's just little things like that you say it, you think, it's a 2-second job, but I've then got to make the design, and I'm no designer, so it's not quick necessarily for me to do. So I've just got to sort of mess around with little bits like that. And then off the back of the podcast that I did yesterday, there's some design things that I want to change as well. That stuff just takes time to do. So that's the sort of, I guess, boring stuff not boring, but like the behind the scenes stuff that isn't necessarily about getting somebody around the course or booking a course, but all that stuff has to be done. And so that's what I'm up to at the moment. And then next week will just be more of that before we get off on our holidays. So and another bit that I haven't announced yet because I was doing stuff with the event, but last year's Ryton Pools event that was called the Beaver Challenge, that scored, I think I got 35 reviews on RaceCheck, all 5 out of 5, which has never happened before. I don't think they've ever had events on there that have been fully 5 out of 5 from every single review. So that was then a complete perfect score and made it the top rated off-road running event in the world. It is in the world because they do, I think it's 14 different countries where they've had reviews from. So fine, it's not every single event in the world, but it's a system that is used in multiple countries. So I'll take that. And so that's great. I mean, the fact that people really enjoy the events is obviously the main thing. But for people to then actually publicly say it, so I can then use that in social media and things like that, and use the award on social media, is great. I still have a huge gripe that people don't look at reviews when it comes to running events. And that's sort of just the way it is. It's frustrating. I find it very frustrating. As I often said, we just got a load of building work done, everything in our kitchen, I have reviewed the individual model I've looked at reviews of every single model to see what happened. So the fridge freezer scored at least 4.6 out of 5 on Trustpilot or whatever it was, or we wouldn't have got them. So why don't people do it with events? But people don't. So I just have to get over that. But it is a bit of a personal bugbear. What was great was and I'm going to forget the name. I don't have it in front of me, but I will see if I can find it while I'm talking. But the YouTube video that one of our runners did at the Squirrel Challenge was brilliant. And I absolutely loved it because it was a very honest account of how they got on during the day, during that event. They were new to the event. I didn't ask them to do anything. Rachel's video. So I shared that on social media and whatnot, and it's on my YouTube page as well, on Big Bear Events YouTube page. And it just shows what she did. It shows what she did during the day. She enjoyed it. She'd never heard of us before. She's done Centurion events, so she's sort of all part of that crowd, I guess, of people that hopefully would enjoy our events as well, the Big Bear events. And it's just a really nice way of doing it. So I'm just really after people for coming along and do like vlogs of the day. And it's not got to be sort of complete puff piece of advertising, but it would be great to have people showing what they do, what they like, what the events are like. Because as much as I can put content out, which is what I'm trying to do now, trying to give people, show people what it's like. That's the whole point of doing the little videos at the events, is to show people what it's like, listen to people that look like you, sound like you, and hear what they thought, because then you're more likely to want to come along. I'd imagine if you're listening to this and you've got this far, you've probably come along to events before, but the more I do these things, hopefully we'll pick up people that might go back and use these to see what the events are like. So that was really good. So thanks, Rachel, for doing that. And it's just nice. And it'd be great to have more of those sorts of things as well. Yeah, so that's about it. So the plan is, because we've not got an event now until the Badger Challenge, the next set of events are selling brilliantly. So as I sit here now, and I'll quickly get the stats up, the Badger Challenge has about 13 places left. That's on the 27th of February, Thursday the 27th of February, at Beacon Hill Country Park, which is near Loughborough. And the Elephant Challenge has 15 places left. That's at Southsea Forest, I'm going to get it wrong every time, so I'll say both, on Friday the 7th of March. So those do not have many places left, so they will both sell out. But come and get involved, sign up when you can, try and get involved. And then we've got the Petzl Night Trails 10K in the evening as well, when we're doing the Elephant Challenge. Great event, really good fun. Petzl will be there with their head torches as well, so if you want to try those on, they're the best that are out there. It's like night and day, excuse the pun, when you put their head torches on compared to cheap rubbish from Sainsbury's, right? It's not comparable. It's apples and oranges. It's not comparable. And then we've got Trail Fest coming up at Southsea Forest as well. If you're able to help for that, that would be great. I do need quite a lot of volunteers for that event, so sort of on the lookout for people to help there. If your club could help with that, even better. That would be excellent. That would be amazing. So do reach out if that's the case. For that, the half marathon's filling up, so that is about 70% fill up. The other ones have got quite a few spaces in them. But if you plan on doing the half, I'd sign up now. People tend to sign up to half marathons and 10Ks quite close to the event, so don't get caught out with that. So what I'm going to do in the little downtime between this event and the Badger Challenge is I thought I'd put a podcast out with effectively the Big Bear Events origin story, because I can't think what I said, but I said something on the last one and I realised that there's no reason for anybody really to know any of that information, because not everybody's been with us from February, whatever it was, the 1st, 2018. So I'm going to put a bit of that out. It's quite self-indulgent, but that is the point, to tell you about me and how Big Bear started, and I guess what the plans are for it as well. I have actually already recorded that, but I don't like it, so I'm going to re-record it again and try and make it a bit more concise, and so it flows a little bit rather than me just rambling like you've sort of caught me in a pub and said, what do you do? So that will go out soon. And that's about it, really. So thank you very much for listening. If you've got this far, well done. And hopefully I'll see you on a start line very soon. Thanks very much, guys.